The quick and easy switch to electric cars isn't happening. Today, it's clearer than ever that the industry is facing a lot of problems. Customers don't want them, automakers are losing money, and governments are delaying their electrification plans. Here are 6 major reasons why the EV market is struggling, and why this might be the beginning of the end for electric vehicles. Number 6. Statistics don't lie. If you look at what was happening over the past few years, it really seemed like electric vehicles could take over the market. The growth was so rapid that governments around the world created fast-paced EV strategies. They thought these strategies would become a dominant force in the market in a very short time. However, it soon became clear that these predictions were wrong. The rapid growth was only temporary, and before long, electric car sales began to lose momentum. As a result, we're no longer seeing the impressive year-over-year growth rates that were often over 90%. Instead, the market started slowing down over the last year. Now it has reached a point where we are no longer talking about significant growth anymore. It's not just that the growth rate is lower, the market is stagnating, and some parts of the world are even showing signs of regression. China, the world's leading force in plug-in vehicles, with the largest production and impressive infrastructure, is now experiencing a significant lack of demand. This has left most automakers operating at just half of their production capacity. Even Tesla saw a decline of 1/3 in the previous quarter. The situation is similar in the US, where the Environmental Protection Agency recently revised its proposal, and there is no longer any mention of making 2/3 of new cars all electric by 2032. Additionally, sales in the first quarter were 15% lower compared to the previous quarter, and for the first time in years, the market share is decreasing. In the UK, authorities introduced a zero-emission vehicle mandate requiring automakers to ensure that 22% of their sales are EVs. If they fail to meet this target, they will be fined £115,000 for each vehicle they fall short. This is just the beginning, as the required percentage is set to increase each year, reaching 80% by 2030. Before we continue, if you're enjoying this video, do well to give us a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button to show your support. If you've done that, let's continue. Number 5. EVs are not seen as a main vehicle. Considering the high prices, limited driving range, and other limitations of plug-in vehicles, it's not surprising that most drivers don't plan to buy one anytime soon. This might be why many governments are creating new rules to try to increase sales. But these efforts won't be very effective if the demand doesn't grow naturally. The main issue lies in how potential customers view EVs. According to a survey conducted in the UK, only 8% of people said they are likely to buy an electric car as their main vehicle within the next 5 years. 30% of people say they are considering buying one as a second vehicle, which is probably even more telling. It's rare to find a household where an electric car is the main vehicle. In most cases, it's the second or even third vehicle within the household. This niche market shows that the main customers are wealthy, environmentally aware households. However, most of these customers have already bought theirs, and now the market is running out of such buyers. In other words, the early adopter phase is over, and they still haven't evolved enough to become the natural choice for the middle class. They still can't meet the needs of an average buyer in terms of driving range, affordability, and overall convenience. Additionally, they are no longer cheap to run, which is another reason why the market is struggling. Number 4. Oversaturation. It's no secret that China is home to the world's largest electric automobile manufacturers and has the most developed EV infrastructure. With over 90 registered makers in the country, China, which has the world's second largest population, has seen some of these companies achieve remarkable milestones. However, they all face a common problem: market limitations. Despite its size, the Chinese market can only absorb a certain number of EVs each year, and right now, that limit is about 9 million EVs annually. That's an impressive number when compared to other markets around the world. The problem is that this is only half of the production capacity of all those Chinese companies. they need new markets to sell their cars. Otherwise, with the ongoing price war in China, they will go out of business soon. In other words, they are desperate to expand to Western markets. But this expansion is not going as planned. Naturally, Western countries don't want to harm their own automotive industries. So, we are currently seeing various legal measures designed to prevent Chinese EVs from flooding Western markets. For example, the Biden administration has introduced a 100% tax on Chinese EVs. In Europe, the situation is more complex because the relationship is a two-way street. The European automotive industry heavily relies on the Chinese market. For instance, 1/3 of all BMWs are sold in China, and it's also the most important market for Volkswagen. Given these circumstances, the European Union has to engage in various legal maneuvers to prevent potential retaliatory actions from them. Number 3, they are not cheap to run. Automakers, government officials, and experts have all been promising many benefits from switching to plug-in vehicles. One of the main points they like to emphasize is the lower running costs. We've been told that fossil fuels are not only harmful to the environment, but also expensive. They say that with electricity, transportation would become much cheaper. However, in reality, things are a bit different. For many owners, running them is actually more expensive than running a car with an internal combustion engine. This unexpected outcome has surprised many people who believe the initial promises about the cost savings of electric cars. Not only are they more expensive to buy, but many owners have no choice but to charge their cars at public stations, which can be quite costly. For example, look at what is happening in the UK right now. Over the past year, the cost of electricity at fast chargers has increased by 10%. This means that driving a plug-in vehicle now costs 22 pennies per mile. In comparison, driving a car with an internal combustion engine costs about 17 pennies per mile. This price difference is in favor of fossil fuels, even though they are subject to much higher taxes. This shows that the running cost of them can be higher than expected, making them less attractive to potential buyers. When you buy petrol in the UK, half of the price is tax. On the other hand, the tax on electricity is 20% for fast chargers, and only 5% for those who charge at home. However, this low tax rate won't last long. As they don't become more popular, taxes on electricity will likely increase because the UK government won't want to lose the £2 billion of revenue it gets from fuel duties. It's easy to see that drivers and authorities in other countries face the same issues. As they become more common, governments will need to find new ways to generate revenue, which could make charging more expensive for everyone. Number 2, they are actually causing pollution. Let's not overlook the fact that people are slowly realizing that these cars might not be as good for the planet as we were told. They definitely won't save it, as the claims about their environmentally friendly nature are largely exaggerated. The idea of zero emissions is misleading because the production of electric cars actually leaves a significantly higher carbon footprint compared to internal combustion cars. Their production is far from green, mainly due to the batteries. These batteries require rare earth elements like lithium, and mining these elements is devastating for the surrounding areas and the environment in general. The process of extracting and processing these materials causes a lot of pollution and environmental damage, which makes the overall impact much less positive than many people initially believed. Considering this, EVs need to be driven for many thousands of miles before they can be said to emit less carbon than internal combustion cars. But there's an important condition. This is only true if all the power for charging the batteries comes from green energy sources. Unfortunately, that's not the case. Most of the world still relies heavily on fossil fuels for energy, including developed countries like the United States, which gets most of its electricity from coal. China is an even more extreme example. Despite having a highly developed infrastructure, most of its electricity comes from fossil fuels. In fact, 3/4 of China's electricity is generated from fossil fuels, with 55% coming directly from coal-burning plants. Therefore, it's clear that plug-in vehicles in China have not succeeded in reducing global emissions. This reliance on coal and other fossil fuels means that the environmental benefits are significantly undermined, making their impact on global emissions much less positive than expected. Number 1. Legacy automakers are scaling back. The key problem with electric vehicles is that they are not profitable. It is believed, aside from Tesla, no company in the world makes a profit from them or has a sustainable business model. Traditional automakers have been especially vulnerable because they have not been able to make the industry economy work for them. Instead, these automakers have been losing enormous amounts of money on their ventures. For example, Ford officials admitted that they lost over $36,000 on every F-150 Lightning they sold in 2023. This shows the financial challenges faced by legacy automakers as they try to transition to electric vehicles. The high cost of production, coupled with the current market limitations and lower demand, make it difficult for these companies to achieve profitability with these cars. This ongoing financial struggle raises concerns about the long-term viability of electric vehicles as a sustainable and profitable segment of the automotive industry. Now that it's becoming clear that fast electrification is not going to happen, and with the protection they're getting from governments, traditional automakers finally have the chance to take a deep breath. Some of them have the opportunity to recover from failed projects, and now they are scaling back. Ford and GM are postponing their investments in the industry and are now focusing more on hybrids and internal combustion cars to generate some profit and recover from massive losses. The same thing is happening with automakers in Europe. For example, Fiat is postponing the phase-out of IC engines in their popular models beyond 2030. Even high-end luxury car makers are facing delays. Aston Martin has delayed its first EV until 2027, and Bentley has also postponed its all-electric plans. This shows that many car companies are adjusting their strategies and slowing down their shift to electric vehicles. Alright guys, we've come to the end of this video, and if you enjoyed it, do well to click the like and subscribe buttons. Don't forget to check other videos on our playlist. We've got some amazing content for you. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.